y'all, it's Jordyn Swingle with Let's Just Be Real. In a world where we can put a spin and a filter on everything, this podcast is going to be raw and honest about all the things. And I do mean all the things. So let's get to it.
Drop it all, risk it all, and like put yourself out there. Like, what are you doing?
A squirrel came in and rummaged through my drawers, sir. The first words out of my mouth were, "We have to call Casey and Jenna." Well, hey there. I'm so glad you're here. And I'm very glad that my guest is here today. I have paid her and bribed her and begged her to sit in my hot seat. This is Genna Schutza. She is one of my very best friends. And not only is she one of my best friends, she's my family.
Which not a lot of people know that.
No.
Well, some people do. And the others are like,
they think that we're just attached to the hip for no reason. No. So backstory to Jenna and I's friendship before we get into all the hot seat questions.
Yeah.
She willingly started dating my cousin Casey, which deserves a trophy in and of itself, when they were like 15. And we became fast friends and then spent the best year of our lives in college living together at UNT, Go Mean Green. And and then we both got married around the same time.
Yeah, I feel like we've always just like, you found out you're pregnant, then I found out I was pregnant. Yeah.
Copy each other.
Yeah.
Just do everything together.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
It is nice.
It is nice. I do think that a lot of people have a misconception that like we're just close, but they don't really understand that it is our family, and our family is, I think, probably closer than most.
Yeah.
And we do a lot together. And my husband is one of Casey's best friends. And
That's how y'all met.
That's how we met. And so it's all just really intertwined.
Yeah.
Okay, so the whole premise behind this podcast, is just to be honest and raw about our past, present, and future. And I want to ask you questions that maybe people in your life that follow you or that know you personally don't think to ask, or, don't think that is appropriate to ask of, a pastor's wife or whoever, a businesswoman, whatever it is. So we're going to talk about all the things. Are you ready?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
I'm an open book.
We have typed out some questions for you.
Okay.
And disclaimer, I did let her read these questions. I'm not mean. I'm not going to ask anything that she's uncomfortable with. Maybe I might.
Really, I don't care.
I was about to say I might ad-lib. So just
Yeah.
buckle up, sister.
I mean, I can answer anything.
There you go. Okay, so also one thing we didn't say is Jenna has 4 kids. She don't look like it. I know, believe me. We all are disgusted by how quickly she bounced back from those children. But we're going to talk about motherhood, because this is something that you and I had the privilege of starting together and walking through together. And it's been beautiful and humbling and sanctifying and stressful. And so we're going to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about what your childhood was like, good, bad, and ugly, and obviously share what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And we love our parents. Let's just put that little disclaimer out there right now.
Mom, if you're listening.
We love you, Diane. We love you. Okay.
So I feel like, I grew up like in a semi-normal home at first. I was the youngest of 3, and my mom and dad, everything was like pretty good. And then they got a divorce when I was in 5th grade, and it got like really messy. And it carried all the way into 6th grade. And
did they divorce in 5th grade?
I think it like started.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think like they started going to court, and like all the messiness, I guess, of like custody and stuff over me, because my siblings were older than me. That's when 6th grade, it happened in 6th grade. But before that, I feel like whenever someone asks me this question, like I always just say, I don't even really remember. Like, me and my dad did everything together. Like, I did stuff with my mom. Like, she was, like, a great mom. But, like, it was just, like, me and my dad. Like, we would fight together all the time. Oh, my gosh, I was such a daddy's girl. But then when the divorce happened, custody issues became, like, really awful. And I basically just stopped wanting to go to my dad's house just because I was, like, not comfortable over there. And I remember one time he came to come pick me up, and I didn't want to go, and police got involved, and it got kind of messy, and I never saw him again. And
like,
so
until when though? Like,
yeah,
how many years was that?
Basically it was like he was supposed to pick me up the next day at school, and I just sat in the front office because he never showed up and they had to call my mom to come pick me up. And so, yeah, and I didn't see him again until I reached out when I was like 19 or 20 in college.
I think, was that when we were living together?
I think so, yeah. Because me and Casey had broken up and I kind of just like had this moment of like, who am I? Like, you know, what are like, what's important to me? And like something was my dad. Like, what if I reached out and things got better? And so I did. We went to dinner a couple times. I like never went alone because it just was like
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I just like wanted someone else there as emotional support. And then fast forward like, you know, a year later, we had gone to dinner like 3 or 4 times, and I told him, "Hey, I'm getting married," which that was weird. He like didn't even know like what my new last name was.
This guy he didn't even know Casey.
Yeah, because I'd been dating Casey since I was 15. Like, and so, so then I asked him if he wanted to come to my wedding, have the first dance, and I'll walk me down the aisle. And
because your mom was married to someone else at the time, he had been like a father figure to you.
Yeah, my mom got remarried when I was 15, and he had been there for, you know, the past 6-7 years. So, and he said yes, and then RSVP'd no. And we kind of like talked on the phone, and he was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not coming to your wedding. And that's when I kind of was like, okay, I feel like I've tried.
Yeah. To say the least.
Yeah. And I actually did reach out like a year or 2 ago, and never heard anything back. So yeah, so that is my childhood.
Just literally wild to me.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
The thought of one of our kids writing a note to us and like us not even having the decency to respond is wild.
Yeah.
I don't know your dad, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt of how he was raised and, you know, what he went through. But you handled that with more grace than most people would have. I think also you're kind of good at compartmentalizing sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think you know you have to survive and keep pushing, and you can't let those things.
Oh, yeah. If I let it get to me too much, I probably would like crumble, you know. Oh. But I mean, I think counseling has been really good for that. Just like talking about my dad and
do you feel like you've forgiven him for not responding to your letter?
Yeah, I feel like I've forgiven him, and like, you know, I don't know, we'll see. I've talked to my counselor about like reaching out again, so we'll see.
Oh man.
If I
props
do.
to you for like bearing it all and putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
I think that's also a testament to the Holy Spirit in you, right? Like that prompting of like, okay, I'm gonna put myself out there again because I think this is worth it, and I think that it's worth me wounding my own heart to see if there's something there to reconcile.
Yeah, and I think like I'm trying to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I could be okay with rejection again, because obviously that's left like a huge
How did
issue.
that rejection, even in the last year, how did that influence your decision making? Do you feel like it was like hard for you in the way that you viewed yourself or the way you viewed your relationships? Like, how did that influence?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like it's impacted me so much. And like, even doing counseling, I feel like it's kind of like I'm on this like road of like, you know, these like, what are the potholes?
Yeah.
And it's like right now I feel like I'm kind of like dug into one, and I'm like trying to slowly get out to just kind of figure out like, you know, oh my gosh, there's been like all of this stuff that's piled up that I've felt rejection, and probably why it took me forever to like actually do what I wanted to do. Like,
I agree.
You know, and like,
well, because it's intrinsic
follow
in
makeup,
us, right?
Yeah,
we want our parents' approval before we want anyone else's approval.
Yeah,
it always wrecks me when I think about that. Like, there's this thought that like your kids want the attention of 2 people only until they're like a certain age. And it's just mom and dad. Yeah. And so when we don't have that from a young age, it definitely affects our decision making as an adult. I feel that. I mean, my dad passed away when I was 7, and that absence, even though it wasn't what yours was, still impacted my decision making. Yeah. And I think it does even now as a mom, unintentionally.
Yeah.
I do things that I'm like, oh, that's a wounded little girl in there crying for help.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, counseling has showed me that for sure, of just like how much. But my mom,
let's talk about Diane. Okay, so backstory: Diane is one of my favorite human beings. She's hilarious. She has this thick.
She's like the nanny.
Yeah. Oh my God, Fran Drescher. Yeah, that's her. Except off the market, off the grid. Like doesn't believe in iPhones, all the things. She is the funniest freaking human because she just says exactly what she's thinking, which is very opposite of Jenna. I feel like you say it, but like you say it with a little bit more tact.
Oh yeah, I'm
And
like
Diane just
step on
says,
any toes, and she's like,
just says it all, and we love her for that.
Yeah.
So okay.
oh yeah,
talk
we
about your
always
mom.
like talk about Jordyn. I'm not talking.
Jordyn, I'm not talking. She's like, man,
She can put
famous.
Jordyn in her place.
Sure can, and it takes a certain specimen to do that. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
my relationship. Yeah.
My mom, we didn't have like really any relationship, but then we grew closer through all of that. And she really like has taught me, like, she works like 3 jobs. She was a waitress. I remember at one point she was working 3 jobs. She would like go work breakfast at the elderly home and wait tables there.
70s and 80s women were just built up.
I know. And so, but I feel like that's totally like, I totally take like her drive and discipline with me. And she really did try to keep as much structure as possible, like kept me in the same schools and all of that, and really did like the best that she can. And now that I am a mom, on one side I do have more grace for like, man, she had a lot of like mental stuff going around, just like emotional baggage in her head that she was also trying to work through.
Well, going through divorce in and of itself, stuff, and then having 3 children that you're having to parent by yourself.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
And then, just trying to make ends meet, and but yeah, so I definitely like am thankful for her, steadiness through it. Yeah,
absolutely. I think sometimes it's hard for our parents' generation because they feel very justified in like, I provided for you. I like did the things that I knew were required of me.
Yeah.
And that's at that time, that was all I had to give. You know what I mean? And I feel that on days where I'm like, man, I'm at my max. Like emotionally, mentally, I've done it for everyone around me. And I come home and having to do this for 2 children is very taxing sometimes. So I think Diane deserves a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
But okay, so the positive things you took from her is her steadfastness. And I think that's a wonderful word to use to describe you as well. What is one thing that you do differently than how your mom did it?
Yeah, I just think, man, I just like the emotional availability. Like I want to be emotionally available for my kids. Like, and like I said, she had so much on her plate, but I really want to be able to like, if my kid is upset, like stop and emotionally connect with them. And I always think like whatever I'm doing now is, if I'm not going to listen to the small things now of like,
they won't
look at this picture that I colored and I'm like, wow,
so pretty for the 100th time today. Yes.
But, if I don't listen to those small things, like then they're not going to share the big things with me.
I agree.
And so, just like the emotional availability, I want to be that for my kids. And I definitely feel like, it's kind of hard with my youngers, but I definitely feel like my 8-year-old, I can like see that emotional connection building. And I love that. And I'm super encouraged by it.
So backstory to that, Jenna and I found out we were pregnant 6 weeks apart with our first children, and they were both girls.
Yeah.
And Ellie has blonde hair and Chandler has brown hair, and they're little copy and pastes of us, and they are best friends. And it has been one of the sweetest gifts I think that the Lord has given us. And I think he knew we needed that.
Yeah.
Because we were first-time moms and we were flailing and didn't know what we were doing. And both came from single moms.
Yeah.
And so we relate a lot with that. And it's funny to even see like the differences in our parenting, but the similarities are way stronger. I feel like we value those girls a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
And you had a great relationship with your mom. So I'm sure that drives you in the sense of like, I want that. Like you told your mom everything.
Yeah, I did. And I try really hard to create that space with Ellie, but it's also, it's like such a freaking balance of like, okay, I want you to trust me, but I also want you to like respect and honor me.
Yeah.
And
I want to like right now I'm like their coach.
Yeah.
And like one day I get to be your best friend and we get to just like
pal around,
shoot the crap. But like right now I'm your coach and I'm like teaching you about life because I have 18 years to do it. And the minute you were born until you leave my house is like me preparing you.
Yeah. And even then
to spread your wings.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, and I think too with Chandler, especially like she is so intuitive and she pays attention to everything. She watches you like a hawk.
Yeah.
And I really think she does respect you, and she definitely loves you a lot, which is a huge blessing.
Yeah.
So, and also we were so young having kids. Like we got pregnant. Good God. I think about that and I'm like, I know Ellie never came home and said that. I was 22 when I found out I was pregnant. Or no, Yeah, I was 22 when I found out I was pregnant, and I had Ellie at 23.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you?
23 when I found out I was pregnant at 24.
Wild.
Which, why, like 24, I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound too.
But dear
too
God,
young, but
thinking that them being 24.
Oh, I know.
No, I like look at 24-year-olds now, and I'm like, you don't even know how to get into your bank account. Like, what do we do?
I know.
Okay, so moving on. So obviously you're an incredible mother. You have 4 children. You have a really awesome husband whom I adore. He's a full-time pastor. He's in ministry full-time. And you spent the majority of the last 8 years being a stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then this pivot came in your life where you were doing makeup and hair semi full-time, kind of taking it seriously, kind of underestimating yourself in a little bit. What switched in you that made you want to take Beauty by Jenna? That's her Instagram and handle. Plug. What made you want to take that and actually turn it into something that is sustainable and long-lasting?
Yeah. I just think, like, kind of going back to my mom, like, she worked like all these, like 3 jobs and stuff like that. And I like found myself, with Casey being a pastor, working like all these little side-end jobs, just like make it work. And I was just like not happy. I'm not one to complain, but like I felt like I almost got to the point where I just was like wanting to complain and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so over this job
Wiping
and this little job. And
these,
And so I kind of just had this friend, and he was like, what do you, out of all these things that you're doing, that you have your hand in, like, what do you love the most? And I was like, makeup. And he was like, okay, then
do it.
Drive everything else out and do that. And I was like, what? Like, how do I do that? And so I think I just was like almost ready. Like I was so burnt out of like doing all these little side jobs that I just was like, I just needed like someone to be like, drop it all and risk it all and like put yourself out there. Like, what are you doing?
I think one of my favorite things is when you call me and say, okay, I have a business question.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I have so much joy in that. It's such a honor.
I swear you always answer. It's like,
I always answer when I know it's business. I'm like, all right, fine, this is important. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you always give good advice. But so I feel like that I just was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And it's been scary because I totally am not the one to put myself out there. I like talked about on my post before of like imposter syndrome is real. And
definitely.
I struggle with being like, oh, I'm not, good enough or whatever. And like Instagram and social media is so good, but it can be like so just like difficult. The thief of joy.
Yeah.
Comparison is a
when we
thief
talk
of joy.
about that, like, why didn't this have this certain views or why didn't this have this? And like, it's such.
Yeah, we were just talking about that yesterday.
It's a labor of love and hate because I feel like the things that you take time to curate like don't do as well and they don't turn as much engagement. And we like in today's world, engagement equals profit in a lot of ways. Like profit of, relationships, the more eyes that see your stuff, the more engagement you're going to get. Obviously, it's kind of the name of the game. But we were talking about this the other day, like even if your views are like, if a video gets 500 views, like if you converted 5 of those people, what would that equal in dollar amount, right?
Yeah.
And I think one thing I want to hit on with you is that from even just like feedback from other people is that your value to them is not a dollar amount.
Yeah.
Like, they love to come and sit in your chair.
Yeah.
And you have this gift to just make everyone in the room feel seen and heard. And you've taken your business and done that in such a way that women love hanging out with you. Sometimes we would literally joke about this all the time. We'd be like, in like 2018 or 2019, Jenna would be like, yeah, I'm getting coffee with this person. I'm like, who is this? Like, you literally
like,
know everyone.
8 years.
I know. And you're like, well, he reached out. And I'm like, okay. But this, I think, has been, because your time with your kids is obviously the most important thing to you. And so that ability to just fly by the seat of your pants and go grab coffee with whoever is kind of dwindling. But I feel like you've really been intentional with your business and been able to make the women that come to you sit and they feel loved and they feel cared about and they feel educated on their skin and the makeup they're using and why it's not compatible or what they're learning. And so, I'm extremely proud of you.
Thanks.
Because I knew you could do it.
Thanks. I mean, you always were like, what are you doing? But I definitely feel like hair and makeup has become like an evangelizing
100%
tool. It's like, Casey's in ministry and that can really become a bubble of just like
Christian people all the time.
People
Yeah.
that are like-minded around me all the time. And so, yeah, to get to connect with all walks of life and make them feel comfortable and seen, and them sometimes not even knowing that, knowing the Lord, or knowing that I'm married to a pastor, or that I love
Right.
the Lord, and being like, you are so cool, let's hang out again. I'm like,
Mhm.
obviously that's not me. That's the Holy Spirit in me.
Right. They're drawn to
So,
that.
yeah. And so I love that. And it is definitely cool, with my kids. It's like I don't have, time to give to a lot of people. But when you're in my chair, I want them to feel like you are the only thing that matters. And I have all the time for you. I'm not too busy for you.
Yeah.
And that's like a good feeling to feel when you're a mom, when you really do feel like you're so busy for so many people,
100%.
or too busy for so many people, I guess.
Okay, yeah. Hold on. I
Love
want to
it.
ask you 3 things about makeup.
Okay.
1, what is your favorite aspect of the face? Like, what do you love to do on the face?
Eyeshadow. I just like love eyes.
Which is my least favorite part.
Yeah.
Because
Well, and
I always feel like there's so much room for error.
yeah, but I just think it's so fun. And like I ask every client, like, what's your favorite feature? And probably 9 out of 10 people say their eyes.
Really?
Yeah. Like, what would you say your favorite feature is?
I like my nose.
I love your nose. I always say you have the cutest button nose.
Yeah, I like my nose. I like my eyes.
Nobody says that. I think I've had like one person say their nose.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I like my eyes. I think that there's connection in the eyes, right? But I think I do like my nose. It reminds me of my dad.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why. My features are very like my dad's side of the family. And so I always see myself or see him in me when I look at that. But yeah, okay. And then your top used product, like what do you reach for on every single client?
Mm.
And don't say it's that CeraVe moisturizer because I know you love that. But
Oh, Nivea.
oh, Nivea.
I do use that. Man, that's a good question. I would say the foundation that I use, it's called Graftobean.
Okay, send me the link.
And I don't know, it just looks good on everyone.
Really?
It's like
Is that what you
creamy.
use on me? The last.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, my
Everyone
freaking
loves
face
it.
looked flawless. Too,
Yeah.
So okay.
And then there's just so many shades.
Okay, what is one area of the face that you feel like you want to grow in 2024? Like find a different technique or change a brush or change something. Like what's
Yeah.
something you're like on the hunt for?
Man, I feel like contouring changes all the time. Like,
Yeah.
it's poor girls that like watch TikTok videos, and this girl has lines
How
here,
can
and
you
this
keep
girl
up
has
the
lines
trends?
here,
I
and this girl
know.
has lines here. So just like figuring out what I like,
Yeah.
or just like figuring out what looks good on what face. But that definitely is a goal of mine, is to do like more professional development,
Yeah.
which I've started doing,
Yeah, you
like
started
more
doing
makeup classes and stuff like that. And it's so fun to get to, like, I actually enjoy it,
I love that.
getting to do stuff. So yeah, just I guess like learning more like contour.
Yeah, but I'm gonna need your clients to like stop booking you so much so that when I need my makeup done, I can
I
just, like,
know. I
your
cannot
chair.
believe that.
I love it. I mean, I'm like
The past 2 times.
a little bittersweet. I'm like, okay, go girl, but like also, hey, I don't know what I'm doing on my face. I'm gonna
You
need some help.
do. I showed up. You looked good the other day.
I appreciate it. Okay, so since starting your own business, what have you learned about yourself? Like not technique, not social media, none of that. Like your personal self.
Yeah. I think that I'm like capable of, like, people believe in me more than I think, and like I can do more than I think. Like, I'm capable of more. I can make reels. Holy crap. I never thought I would make so many reels. Just
I remember when first
content.
you were like, what? And I'm like, I know.
Oh my
just
gosh.
sure.
And so many people were like, it's going to get easier. It's going to get easier.
Has it
But
gotten easier?
yeah, it totally has. And so that just like I can make reels. Like, I can figure out hard updos, or like hard makeup looks, or like I can be versatile. So yeah, just like realizing like, wow, like I can do this.
Yeah, you can.
Um,
And people want you to do it. Like, I think that's been the coolest part about watching it from the outside view is like people really, really love you.
Yeah.
And they cheer you on and they want to do anything to support you. And that I think has always been the reality for you. And it's just come to light more so now, which is really cool to watch.
it's
For
super
sure.
sweet.
What do you love about being a working mom and what do you hate about it?
I love getting to show my kids like, hey, you can chase your dreams at 30.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not what I got my degree in, but you
But
know,
you're 32, right?
yeah, in my 30s. And like yeah, that it's work, but I love getting to do it. And like Chandler, my 8-year-old, I can take her with me. I swear I have
Which
other
she
kids other
literally
than Chandler.
could do your makeup
I know,
better.
she's
Like
so
she can do her
good.
makeup better than
She's
I can
so
do
good.
mine.
I know. She was like, Mom, I put washi tape right here.
Oh,
and I
know.
did
She
it.
taught Ellie that, and Ellie came into my room yesterday with tape hanging on her face. I go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
She goes, "Chandler, show me a technique." I was like, "Okay."
But I do have other kids other than
You do. You have 3 other lovely children, but Chandler's the only one that's old enough to like grasp it.
Yeah, but it's fun. Like I get to take her to things. I love that.
Yeah, she loves that.
And I love, like, it fills my cup up to go work and come home. Like I feel like I'm like, okay, I
It's
have
gratifying.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not like resentful.
What do you hate about it?
I hate like the weddings, the time away. Like when I'm there, I'm fine, but like the driving, like if I could just fly to every appointment, I'd be
just
fine.
have her friend Jen.
Yeah,
Take her
come on.
there. Yeah.
2025 goals.
There you go.
But I don't like that. And like Bennett's in baseball, and so I have to miss his games. But that's like my goal is to be able to have enough people on my team to go work weddings for me. I'm just not there yet.
No,
but that's okay. To show my
skill comes with time.
Yeah, and to show my kids like the grind. You know, like they might not remember it, but it'll be like Chandler probably will, maybe.
Mom worked really hard.
Yeah,
and we got to do fun things because.
And we say that all the time. All the time, we're like, do you know why we get to go, you know, to ice at Gaylord? It's because Jesus has blessed Mommy with
the
makeup
ability
jobs.
To do something, yeah.
And now my kids have started saying that, like, thank you, Mommy, for working so that we can go do fun things. Like, they said that last night. We went to the movies and got popcorn and drinks. And so, yeah.
Yeah, there's financial gain in it. And I think that for the longest time, I felt so much shame about being like, oh, I want to work hard because I also want to make money. Like, I want to make money because I want to be radically generous, but I also want to make money so that I can take my kids to do fun things that I wasn't, you know, I couldn't do or, you know, and I don't think there's shame in that. And I think it's healthy as little girls to see their moms really working hard at something and then also saying, to God be the glory. Yeah, like I could not do any of this
I mean,
without him.
Thinking about, like, let's be real. Like, I'm so passionate about being real with my kids. And I think there's something to say for, like, when we get a bonus, like, at work, like, to encourage parents to be like, hey, we get to go do this fun thing because we were blessed. So now we get to bless y'all.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, what is something, let's do 2 parts to this. What is something in your personal life that you want to achieve in 2024? Like relationships, finances, relationship with God, what is it? What's one thing you want to achieve in 2024?
Well, the goal right now, I wanted to take my kids out of the country. I want to like we go to Florida every freaking year.
Basically, Florida residents at this point, like honorary. They should give us like a bumper sticker or something to thank you for all your money that you've spent the last 20 years. Yeah.
So that's like a dream to take all my 4 kids. I don't think I've taken them all 4 at the same time on a flight. I don't think.
Did we do that last year? No. Some of them drove.
So that's like a goal is to this next year take them to
bring
Mexico.
on Dramamine and Benadryl.
Oh my gosh, I know. Not really. It's like an hour and a half to Mexico or something.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's short.
Oh.
So that's like, you know, my tiny goal. And then my bigger goal would just be like for my makeup business to grow enough, like people on my team and grow in weddings, but like also get to like pass some of that off.
Yeah. I think that's a huge goal, but I also think it's attainable.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay. What did God teach you in 2023?
Yeah. I feel like,
and be really real, right?
Yeah. I think that I learned that I can't mess up his plan for my life. Like, no matter, I just have this like mentality of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. Like, no matter how many times I mess up, right? Or like, I don't feel like I fit like the pastor's wife mold, whatever that is, whatever I've created in my head that I've thought that this is like a pastor's wife. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, Casey's not gonna, you know, get to be a successful church planner because of me.
X, Y, or Z. Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I'm not gonna, and like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be successful at makeup because, you know, I had a couple clients that like weren't super happy.
Right.
Or like, oh my gosh, I'm going to mess up my kids because I'm
a human.
Yeah. And I got impatient with them and like, they just were upset with me or whatever. Just realizing like, yeah, like who do I think I am that I have all this power to like thwart all these plans that the Lord has. So I think this year has shown me like, yeah, maybe I did have some moments in parenting that I'm not proud of, or like makeup times that I just was like really discouraged by, or other things. Like I'm still a makeup artist and I'm successful and I'm still a mom and I feel like I'm pretty good at that and I'm a good pastor's wife.
There you go.
So yeah, just
and at me if you think differently because we can have a little chit chat. Okay. No, I do. I agree.
Yeah.
I think
so just that I can't mess up like what he has planned.
Yeah. I love that. That's so encouraging because I constantly feel like I'm standing in the way of God's will for my life.
Yeah, there you go.
Always. I'm like, it would be great if I wasn't involved. Like, you would be doing so much better if you pick somebody else.
Exactly.
Like, and how true is that? In the Bible, we see that theme all the time of like Moses being like, hey, you know what? I think you have the wrong guy. And I'm like, I think I'm the wrong one for the job. And
yeah.
Like, no, I've prepared you for this and I'm going to do it. And we love to quote Romans where he says, God will use all things for the good of those who love him, right? And all things for our good and his glory. That's the Romans part, right? I don't know. I'm not the pastor. So
he'll do all things.
It's in my heart, okay? It's written on my heart. So
Romans 8:28.
There you go.
Reference.
I know another Bible verse. I can think of one. Job 13:5. Although you'd be silent, let it be your wisdom, you know? Okay. We're good Christians, I promise. Okay, so one random question that isn't on here.
Okay, I want to ask you one.
Okay. What is your favorite memory that we can talk about on the air between you and I?
I'm the worst at memory.
Yeah, you have the absolute worst.
Ask me this question.
Recollection. Just think about our time in college. Think about our time as like first time moms. What's our favorite?
Jog my memory and I'll tell you which one.
Oh my gosh. So this is my favorite memory. Well, now I don't have one. Let me think of all the times. Probably that time that our apartment got broken into.
I was thinking about that, but that's not like a favorite memory.
No, it's not a favorite memory, but
That
it
was
definitely
crazy,
sticks
though.
out. Like how fast I drove from Bedford to Denton because I was sure I was going to be the one to break up the invasion.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, let me find this guy. And the police were already there and they're like, can you? I'm like a little chihuahua in the background.
Yeah.
Did they really say it was?
Yeah, they're like, it was just a noise.
A squirrel came in and rummaged through my drawers, sir. Okay, cool.
Man, that's a hard one.
Okay.
I did love the memory of like when you told me you were pregnant on Thanksgiving and then 6 weeks later. Well, on
Basketball, I am behind you.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm so glad you're pregnant. I'm so happy for you, but I'm so glad it's not me.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to just like travel and do all the things.
The first words out of my mouth when we found out I was pregnant, mind you, at the time, and this is another like example of us just being very attached. We lived in the same apartment complex after we got married, and we currently live 7 minutes from each other. So we just would stay in a little radius. But the first words out of my mouth were, we have to call Casey and Jenna. And the first words out of Dylan's mouth were, we don't have enough money. So if that tells you how our brains work. He was like pacing the floor.
Look where you are.
Hey, to God
from
be
the
the
bottom.
glory. Now we here.
There you go.
In my little
Well, God and Drake.
It was only we could do it. Oh my gosh. Okay, your question.
Yeah. How did you decide to do this podcast? Like, what did Dylan think about it?
Okay, so we were sitting at a little table with a yellow umbrella. That's all I remember. We were in Destin.
That's all I remember. That's like,
I remember every
than I
single
can
detail.
remember.
I remember what I was wearing, what I was eating. I could literally go into all of it. I have a very good memory. But I oftentimes do things in the thought of like, will this be profitable? Will this be financially wise? Will this be, something that I can do well, right? And I don't have a lot in my life that's like a passion project. Like I'm a full-time realtor and I love that. I love to work. I think that that is something that I get from my dad. He was really, really motivated in work. But I don't do things that I just like want to do for fun. Like I just want to do this just because I want to do it. And I don't care if anyone listens to it. I want to do it because it feels natural to me. And I feel like I have a story to tell, and I feel like my friends have stories to tell. And so to create a platform for that and just freaking have fun with it and not worry about, is this going to make me a bunch of money or whatever? Like, to have something that I can kind of retreat to is what I was looking for. And Dylan, of course, in Dylan fashion was like, all right. And immediately gets on Amazon and starts looking up the best mics and the best backdrops and all the things. And our friend Isaiah Babcock has been pivotal in all of our business decisions. And we immediately consulted with him and said, you know, you're really great at these things. Like, what do you think we should buy? And da-da-da. So we sank a lot of money into a passion project. I won't lie to it. But he was super supportive. And he immediately was like, yeah, let's do it. And
I love it.
Saw the light in my eyes and took over. And I'm the dreamer.
Yeah.
Like, I love to
He's
dream.
the executor.
We call it, I always used to call him the executioner. And he was like, that's not the way you should say that. But he executes the dreams that I come up with.
I love it.
Yeah.
Y'all are a good team. Dream team.
Dream team, baby.
And I just think it's like great for your kids to see, and how many people, like me, are like encouraged, where I'm like, oh, all the risks. I think of everything, and you're just like, a little more free spirited. But like, if it's successful, it's successful, and if it's a flop, like either way, you're like, I know who I am, and I think that that's something that I've learned this year that I think that you've always been good at, is just like, okay, what are my values and what's important to me, and like what's going to get me there? Yeah. Like, okay, my values are that I want to teach my kids like this and this, and that these things are important, and how do I like reach that goal? Yeah. And
I'm
I love
so
that about
passionate about that.
Yeah.
I could rant for hours and hours about women, and especially mothers, owning businesses and doing things that they care about, because it's hard. Motherhood is hard, and you lose a lot of your identity in motherhood. And it's very easy to and it's not just because motherhood in and of itself is about 45 full-time jobs, but like, it's very easy to forget who we are as women and who God created us to be, and the giftings that we had when we, become a mom. And I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and still in some regard am with my schedule. That's why I work what I work. But I think it's so freaking important for women to have things like this, to have an outlet, to have stuff that they care about, to have something that's theirs, right? And that we can hold on to a little bit and say, man, I did this and I'm really proud of it. And I want my kids to look at that and say, wow, God gave mommy these gifts and she's using them and it's benefiting other people. Yeah. So that's really my hope, is that they want to listen to this and laugh at, I'm going to do some wild, very wild impressions of lots of people, because I just naturally turn on the voice. Like, I'm going to do Kelly, and my mom has this thick Southern accent, and she's like, Jordyn Bailey, I told you not to date it, all the time. And we go into that. So I know I'm going to do some dumb stuff, but I hope that people like come and watch and listen and laugh, and it gives them a tiny bit of, lightheartedness to their day.
Yeah. And you're probably like intriguing to people, they're like, how does this girl
keep it on straight? Yeah. How does this girl?
So this is a good little outlet. Get to know you.
Yeah. And get to know you.
They probably are like
insightful information.
Oh, they've probably gone down rabbit holes, but they could just listen to this podcast.
There you go. You get it all tied in a pretty little bow.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that's all we have for you today. I really appreciate you sharing your soul and just being my best friend and dealing with me all of your life. Welcome to fun. Yeah. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, save, do all the things. Love ya. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to my mom's podcast, Let's Just Be Real. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, like, follow, rate, and review so you don't miss any of these honest and amazing stories. For all the behind-the-scenes content, go follow my mom at Jordyn Swingle on Instagram. And as always, let's just be real.